music right there from the Boing Records label. It is the Aristocrats and their excellent brand new live release in the year of 2021 titled Freeze, live in Europe 2020. And joining us on our in-studio fog lines, I guess you could say, here at North 13th Studios, our virtual studios. Joining us is the man, the myth, the legend, no stranger to this radio show. We talk about how much we love him all the time. The great Marco Minnemann of The Aristocrats is with us. How are you, sir?
Good morning, or good evening, or wherever you are in this world, and thank you kindly for pronouncing my name correctly. Wow, well, hey, look at you.
I used to get ripped on the radio if I didn't do that. I mean, that's with the beginning of forums. I learned all about that. But no, we just played Spanish Eddie right there from the new live album. And tell me a little bit about this. I mean, I know that you guys were, you know, it was eventually going to be, you already did a live album before. It's not like you hadn't done it before. But why this one?
Why the live album, you mean?
Yeah, well, for this one, this one.
It was basically, it is a souvenir, you know, for, first of all, for the people who saw us live, but also we did it because we couldn't finish our tour due to the COVID pandemic. And so we had like a bunch of gigs lined up in Asia, Southeast Asia, and Latin America. And obviously all those dates, you know, didn't happen. And so, you know, we finished actually quite a few tour legs for our last album, which was last studio album, which is
great, by the way.
What? And thank you. And so, yeah, we had great shows. Unfortunately, we recorded most of them, and we remembered, you know, pretty much, you know, the good bits, and figured out how they sounded, and kind of, you know, double checked it, and we're like surprised on how really locked, you know, surprise is the wrong word, but, you know, it was pleasing, you know, because we are our worst critic, you know, it's like always, sure. You know, you go like, shit, you know, we could have done this better or that better. And then we listened back and thought like, hey, we're actually not that bad. And so we kind of found like, you know, some cuts that we thought were worthy. And it became the souvenir, you know, for the people who saw us on tour, and also for the ones, you know, who were not able to see us on the You Know What tour. It will probably start back again in 2022. Yeah, but long story short, you know, that was the reason why this album exists. And
now, was that studio album, You Know What, or You Know What?
It was like, you know what? It goes back to a story, if I may tell that real quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
It goes way back to the beginning of the band, to a very first recording session of our first debut Aristocrats album. And we recorded it in Chicago. And right next to the studio, there was like, you know, a little sandwich shop, but it was also like a business building, like a corporate building. So, you know, usually the sandwich shop was open and free, you know, nobody was there and you could just go in and order food. And there was this one moment, we were just in between takes, and I stumbled in there at 12:30 p.m. where everyone from, you know, wanted to get a sandwich for lunch. and I was kind of, you know, witnessing these two ladies not being able to make up their mind what kind of sandwich they wanted. And I witnessed it for a while, and it was like, you know, oh, can I have this with mayonnaise? Oh, no, I think I have it with mustard. Is it actually good with mayonnaise? Maybe mayonnaise and mustard and stuff. And so it took like about like a few minutes, and I just went back to the studio and told it to Brian and Guthrie, and I said like, man, I was standing there and those ladies couldn't make up their mind. And I just thought like, you know what? And that was the line, and we all started laughing about it. It's not funny when I tell it now, but it was funny, you know, at the whole kind of thing. And so during the recording sessions of that album, we didn't have an album title, and we couldn't figure anything out. And I said out loud once again that line. It's like, you know what? I said like, hang on, wasn't that the line that sort of connected us with the Aristocrats? And so it became this running joke, and we used it for the album. That's why the album was called You Know What.
And you know what, you've kind of laid out this humor. Yeah. I mean, that's in a way it reminds me of the Frank Zappa legacy in a way where he would write these incredible pieces of music, but he never took himself too seriously. I mean, he would watch you to see if you actually liked what he did, but you guys are like, Brian, I know, has got a great sense of humor. I've never met Guthrie, but I know that you, I mean, I don't even have to get into you about the Northeast Art Rock Festival and how hard you made me laugh there. But like, you guys have been able to not take yourselves too seriously, but as I've seen, many other people have seen, you guys are no joke when you're playing live. I mean, that's where the proof is in the pudding. But no, it's great. But what is the whole freeze? Like what? Like somebody with a gun, freeze, don't move, what?
It is basically it has a double meaning, doesn't it? Because we tell our stories of the songs. Each of us tells the stories of the songs we individually write, and make a thing out of it. And then and usually they're actually pretty funny stories and entertaining stories. And I think it's kind of cool to not take yourself too seriously, first of all, because, you want to have a good conversation with the people. You want to make them feel good. There's nothing, in my opinion, worse than somebody standing there going like, oh, look, we're the greats up here and you're all shit down there. Whatever. I don't care what you think.
A flat or A major. What was that?
Yeah, it's like, no, we're kind of the opposite, right? The more fun we can have together, we have a good time. That doesn't obviously mean that we kind of don't have quality control, because we are having quality. We really kind of care about our performance. Now, however, Freeze, back to that story. So that was actually one of the stories from a song called Bonnie and Clyde, which was aimed at Brian's malheur, so to speak, like a few years ago when his storage locker got robbed. And
all his bases, shit.
So the bases were gone, and he got a bunch of them back, and he also became sort of Detective Beller and kind of was so pissed off that he kind of sort of tracked those guys down and actually found them, and the police caught them at the storage locker, and Brian was there, and he witnessed when the police kind of saw them coming out, and they said freeze. And so we would tell, or Brian would tell that story every night on tour about that song. And so the thing is, once the tour ended, it was basically frozen. First of all, it was in the winter. We ended the tour literally in ice and snow in Europe.
Where were you? Where were you on the tour at that point?
At that point, we were in Finland and Russia, and so in the wintertime, can you imagine how cold it was? And then the tour literally stopped, right? And then we kind of flew back out, and then we kind of thought like, okay, look, we got to give something for the fans. And I think it was one of our managers of the Aristocrats, Ricardo, who came up with the idea to call it Freeze. Because it had three meanings, right? And I was like, first of all, that's the pandemic, so here's the cutoff, freeze, the story, and then also the winter time at that time. So in the sticks. So
are you in California?
I'm in California. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm in California. I'm right here by the lake, and I love it here. I kind of bury myself into the studio and record and do things. And when I do gigs, for example, tonight I have a gig where I'm guesting for like 3 songs.
Okay.
And that's actually in Huntington Beach, and that's an outdoors thing. I don't really do indoor festivals or something like that. I still take this kind of stuff serious.
Sure.
But nobody really got seriously ill. I'm not sure. Did any of your people, did you witness?
I got to tell you how crazy this is. I believe, and she won't mind me saying it, my wife, before we even knew what the pandemic was, that November before, like 3 months before, she was taking the train. I live on the Jersey coast, and she would go to Philadelphia on the train. And about the early part of December, she was like really out of it. She's like, I can't smell anything. I can't taste anything. Then she started getting really sick. She couldn't breathe. And then 2 weeks after, I said, honey, we're going to go to the hospital if this is not getting better. So it faded. She started to get better. Then she got sick again. So when I told my doctor, because I have autoimmune problems myself, but for whatever reason, I didn't get it. And I've tested positive or negative. She's good now, but because of certain like festivals, and because her and I, hopefully when everything clears, we can go to Columbia, I have to get vaccinated. So thankfully, I mean, sadly, I lost my father, guitarist, Philly jazz guitarist, Sonny Troy, just passed away back in April. Yeah. So.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, he was 83. I was worried he was going to get it, but we got hit but yeah, it's so amazing how the people you'd never expect to get it got it. And I'm just glad that you're great, man. But
Yeah. Your wife had it, right? And your wife, so did she test for antibodies, or you don't know?
Well, she was so scared to even go outside to and I understood that totally. But when I mean, if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, I think it's a duck, and everything that she was saying, I'm like, honey, this sounds like what you had COVID.
Absolutely.
But Marco, nobody knew in December. So my doctor, who took care of me, I had Epstein-Barr 25 years ago, and she said to me, so you didn't get any side of you didn't get sick? And I said, no. She said she was seeing a correlation with Epstein-Barr patients that, even though they have an autoimmune, they weren't getting COVID.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm not going to bank on that because I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I'm going to go tomorrow. So hopefully, but I want to talk about yourself. You hail from Germany.
Yeah.
When did you come to the United States, and what part of Germany were you growing up in?
I grew up actually in Hanover, which is a total rock town. A lot of musicians come from Hanover, strangely enough, from Germany there, and I know most of them. I know the Scorpions. I know all those guys, We Hang and stuff, all those people, man. It was like, when I was I started playing there in the 80s pretty much. I was like, in my teenage years, my young teenage years, and anyways, long story short, I was born actually and raised in Hanover. And,
wow.
And I came over to the States, oh my gosh, it must have been already 15 years ago, exactly 15 years ago. And there was a reason for that, because first of all, I was affiliated with a lot of my drum companies here. Every company I worked with, record-wise, like Warner Brothers for my releases on DVDs or books, then DW drums, Zildjian cymbals, Promark sticks, Evans, see, I can plug my shit here right now. But all this kind of stuff is from the States, and all the musicians I worked with, or most of them, were from the States and England as well, But so it was a logical kind of thing to go like, hey, I might as well move here because it makes things easier with the visa situations, when you enter countries and things. So, and also I like the weather in California, and I thought like, well,
Well, it's you're near San Diego, right?
Oh,
is that San Diego's the most beautiful. I went to California one time, and the most beautiful place I ever saw was San Diego. I mean, I'm not a I don't like earthquakes every day, but
exactly.
But, I mean, that's great. I mean, your story's great. But the Aristocrats, it's hard to believe it's been 10 years.
Yeah,
you guys are already. Now, you guys met at NAMM. Is that how it all came down?
Yeah, absolutely. It was actually. I started this whole thing with these trio shows. We got invited to Vladivostok, and I first of all brought along Brett Gossett and Rick Fibbracci.
Brett.
He's great. Then I had Brett is fantastic, and then I brought Brian Beller over and Greg Howe. So we did like a few trio experiences, and that thing became a thing all over. When actually we started to kind of do more gigs with Greg together, and Brian then asked if it's okay to use that trio for the bass bash, and then Greg first said like, hey, that'd be cool, let's do it, and then 2 weeks in advance he had to cancel because of like some studio thing, because a singer couldn't reschedule, and he asked if it's okay to if he kind of signs off of that gig, and we were like, ooh, that's a little bit short ahead, but what we're gonna do? We were almost about to cancel that show, and then somebody recommended Guthrie, and we said, and I said like, Brian, I heard about that guy just when we were in Russia. One of the other guys from this other band played me this dude, and he was great. And he goes like, well, okay, shall we kind of cancel the gig, or maybe shall we try it with Guthrie? And then it was literally on a string, so like literally he goes like, man, if you say like let's not do it, we not do it. I was like, no, let's contact him. Sure enough, he replied and said like, yeah, guys, actually, I know who you guys are and I love what you do. I'm at NAMM as well. Let's do it. And the rest is history. All of a sudden.
And it wasn't like you were blowing smoke. You guys really genuinely because you could see you were consistent every couple years. There's another album. And Jack Webster, my co-producer, he worships you guys. And I was hesitant at first because I knew all three of you guys, but I'm like, well, I mean, what is this? Is this like going to be like one of those Liquid Tension things where they do an album and they disappear for 20 years? No. You guys have been busy, and you can almost feel the love and the sense of humor you guys have.
Well, it's a band, isn't it? It's a proper band, and you go through phases, obviously, and sometimes you hate each other, you love each other on tour. These things are on and off happen as well. You know how that is, but it's band, and that's really important, And I guess I'm one of those guys. I don't really like this projects left and right kind of thing. It's cool sometimes to do that, but really the strength is kind of appearing as a family, because that's how you build a following and a fan base, really.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at the albums, 2011, the first album charted in our top 100. Like, that's where our listeners vote every year. We've been doing it for 25, more than, going back to 1995. And then Culture Clash, the first album was number 73. The second album, 2013, was number 23 out of 3,400 albums to vote. Cool. And it was the number 23 album. Tres Caballeros was number 42 in 2015. So you could just see like the consistency. And then You Know What, which right now is the second highest charted of all the albums on our program, with You Know What, that one in 2019, and of course now the new one spent 7 weeks in our weekly top 20, peaked at number 6 back in May, and yeah, I mean you guys really have continuously just did your thing, didn't care, what you're out there, feeling what you got to feel. How, I mean, other than the whole NAMM thing, how often are you guys working together, or like maybe you're sending music back and forth? I mean, how often are you working together to get ready for, say, the next record?
It's a pretty concentrated process, to be very honest, because we each of us have also like our own, things going on, that we do. But with the Aristocrats, it is not really like, that we already kind of have loads of songs in advance and then kind of, record them through the web. We really work as a band. We kind of meet for a few weeks in a studio, and then each of us, brings in their material, which we rehearse obviously beforehand, and then we kind of work also individually for our material as producers,
right?
Which is really kind of funny, It's so we literally have like this concept of each of us brings 3 songs in per record, and also produces these 3 songs. So it's like a complete equal band, and we avoid kind of clashes obviously through that, and but that's how we really roll, and we meet and hang and go out to eat and drink, and then go back into the studio. It is a band experience. Yeah,
sure. Spanish Eddie, the track we opened up before we had you on, who came up with that idea?
That is Guthrie's song.
Yeah, and
I think it was triggered though by, we had this phase once actually of this band called Ween. Remember the band Ween?
Yeah, they Glenn McLaughlin was their keyboardist, and he worshipped my dad. He was constantly recording with my father up until he died. Yeah, I'm very familiar. Yeah.
Oh man, that's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had like this phase, where the funny thing is, like, I got introduced by Mike Keneally, Brian, and also somebody else from the Aristocrats entourage to Ween, because I had no idea who Ween was. And they said, like, you don't know who Ween is? And so they played me 2 songs. And I was like, this is funny. So I kind of investigated and bought like a bunch of albums, which we listened to then together with the Aristocrats on the tour bus during the tour. And we were just laughing our asses off, right? And there was one song which is called Blackjack, and where they kind of, play around with like, there's like, what would it say? It says Blackjack, Black Betty, and then Flapjack, Spanish Eddie.
Spanish Eddie, right, exactly.
Like, what the hell? We were just, and at some point we were playing in Spain, and it was actually Guthrie came up with this Spanish sounding riff, and that was funny, and he said, I have no idea what we should call it. And I said to him, it's like, why don't we call it Spanish Eddie? And he said, you know what? Actually, I was thinking the same thing. And so obviously now we should name it Spanish Eddie. Yeah.
And it's crazy. My first exposure to you was, first I read about you in Modern Drummer. I mean, 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I've always had a thing, for the drums, because, it's the instrument my dad didn't want me to learn. And I taught myself, and I mean, I'm not you, but I'm not, but I just like to play on my own time. And I've always loved drums. I love listening to different drummers. And when I took you very seriously when I heard Normalizer too, and I've never had that opportunity to talk to you about it. We talked about it a little at Nearfest, but I never saw a concept of, here's your 5-hour long drum solo, and then all these great guitarists were constructing their own mechanism around what you do. I mean, I got to ask you, because I've been waiting 15 years to ask you this. How? What?
It was there was Normalizer 1 already, you know, where
Right.
actually a friend of mine and myself wrote music to this drum solo, and I had this idea. Oh my God, yeah, 20 years ago or something. I was playing these solos, but they're like arrangements in my head. I sometimes hear melodies when I kind of play these. I want to make it musical that way, and so I started to write music around those things. And then on Normalizer 2, I thought like, hang on, why don't I invite actually other people to do so? And all of a sudden it became like this avalanche, and everybody, you know, wanted to join in and do it. And so the concept was like, nobody's allowed to listen of what the others do. Everybody's doing their separate thing. And isn't it beautiful how different, you know, the approach sounds?
Every interpretation. I remember, I think it was Alex Makachek who said to me, Tom, you've got to listen. I'm coming out with this album called 24 Tales, but it's based off of, you know, Marco's drum solo. I'm like, well, wait a minute, wait. I said, I looked at the time trial. I went, well, a 54-minute drum solo. He's like, dude, you gotta listen to it, right? Oh. Well, then there was Trey's. Yeah. You know, like, you know, Trey's one of the big reasons why I didn't quit the radio show back in '95. Then you had, I mean, I've got the list here. I mean, it was crazy. You had Jason Sudeikis. Is that his name? Sudeikis?
Jason Sudeikis.
Sudeikis, rather. Yep.
Mike Keneally.
Jakowski. He did.
John Jakowski did one. Well, I did one myself as well. And and Mike Keneally. Yeah.
I got to ask you, I mean, I know each one of them is special in their own way, and I think almost every one of them. Is there one that is your particular favorite?
Mine, of course. Just kidding.
Oh, no ego there whatsoever. We'll be back right after this.
No, they're all fantastic. They're all. I think they're all great. You know, for various reasons. You know, and it's so cool how you can hear, you know, each individual's voice. You know, like how they kind of, you know, do it. Like Mike Keneally obviously has like a lot of cool insanity in the best possible way. Like, you know, very Zappa-esque as well. Alex, you know, very controlled and refined, you know, jazzy composition, you know, and then, you know, Trey Gunn goes into like the soundscapes and very experimental and kind of things. Mine is very bonkers, very mad, you know, there's like a lot of weird shit on it. But you could hear like, you know, everybody has like, you know, their voice, and it's beautiful. It's
man.
Such a cool thing.
I got to tell you, just personally, I've been waiting to tell you this for so many years.
Oh, thank you.
Was absolutely. So is there going to be a Normalizer 3, and are you going to do the same concept or no?
It's not called Normalizer 3, but I kind of took that concept and use it for actually a bunch of songs that appear on my solo albums. For example, the album Schattenspiel, half of the songs are exactly based like that. They were drum solos. And then I wrote music to it. And also, when you listen to the albums I did with Randy McStein together, McStein and Minnemann, for example, on the second album, there's a song called I Don't Feel.
Right. And I love that one.
Oh, thank you. Thank you kindly. Yeah. That whole intro and the outro are drum solos, and that was exactly written that way. I just kind of started playing.
That's like 2.5 minutes long or something like that. That song, if I remember right, something like 3 minutes or something.
It's a bit. Yeah, it could be. No, I think it's in around 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, because I know that like there's some songs, and that's what made that album like so brilliant, because you guys are, even though you're so polarized in the sense of what you guys do. Yeah. It worked, and I was hoping to see you guys over at Progstock, but I heard you guys aren't going to. You had to back out.
Unfortunately, yeah, it was like, you know, still the COVID-related thing, and the risk, you know, combined with it, and we kind of, you know, took a vote and go like, look, guys, is it too early to kind of do that? Because, you know, we have to travel and tour, and then Randy's wife is an elementary school teacher, works with kids, you know, from 5 to 10 years old, and it was just like, you know,
I understand. Believe me, trust me.
I would have loved to do this, but I also was actually thinking, you know, with those numbers and everything, I don't want to kind of be responsible for public gatherings indoors somewhere and things. And so I was like, we were all kind of just going, okay, you know, let's do it right, you know, and,
right, sure,
and the air clears a little bit, right? You know, it's heartbreaking a bit, you know, but.
But I mean, like, these are just some of the things. I mean, I know that we're talking about the Aristocrats, and it's great. It's so fulfilling from beginning to end, from watching you enjoy yourself with the other two guys, but also what the fans, what Jack, my co-producer, thinks. But then we talk about Joe Satriani and the album that you played on, the Shockwave Supernova. And I'm not saying I wasn't a side. I've liked, the radio show supported him for years. We've always played his stuff. I know Jack's a bigger fan. But that album, and I know Mike was on that one, Brian was on that one. It was like you guys.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, it's my favorite Satriani album. People are like, "Oh, well, you got to listen to the other." I'm like, "No, I mean that photo of a memory, or I can't remember the name of it. I think it's the second track."
Oh,
and then,
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? And then you're doing that other crazy thing. I think it was in the title cut, you know, I mean, I could just see you just oh man.
Oh, there was another Joe Satriani thing, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, the track 2, I think the title cut where you're
the track was
in the chorus, the chorus part. Well, there's no singing, but you understand what I'm saying. But again, great work on that. That was the highest charted in our top 100 back in 2013 of all Joe's albums in our 30 years. Now this is 30 years we've been doing the radio show this past week. And that was like the 12th. Then there was, we already talked about what you did with the Normalizer thing. Then your work with Steven Wilson. You did Hand Cannot Erase.
That's right.
I mean, The Raven That Refused to, Raven was another number 1 album in the top 100.
Yeah.
And that's been 17 weeks. Your playing was, Hand Cannot Erase and The Raven That Refused to Sing.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I'm ashamed or embarrassed that I welled up most of those concerts because the source material, a woman that no one knew was dead for however long, and then the not realizing that this woman and her husband's kid died because of a thing at the school. And your playing was, I got to just give you big props, man. I mean, and this is the work, like you also did the Scambot albums with Mike, who's a sweetheart of a guy. You did Beller's solo album, Thanks in Advance. And I wanted to talk about this because this is the question people ask me the most when it comes to Marco Minnemann. And it is 2009, the EP Radiation. Yeah. Was there ever more material other than those 4 tracks, or was that it?
Unfortunately, really not. And man, that is a production. Obviously, I want to be careful what to say.
Sure, yeah.
But on the other hand, because look, Eddie is he likes to keep control about everything.
Sure.
But he reaches out actually as well and wants input. So it was also his comeback, so he wanted to go back out on the road, but he also had to learn how to be Eddie Jobson again, and the times had changed, and so all of a sudden he started doing these things. And he heard some of my guitar sounds that I came up with and my drum sounds, and he loved it. He was like, "Oh my God, I want, how are you getting these sounds? How do you do this?" I was like, "Well, I'm getting them these and that." And he hired actually an engineer as well who helped him dial in the sound, and we got everything. But then he heard something in his head that he wanted to adjust, and then he started basically to readjusting everything back to where it was when
he's me then. Okay, I understand.
It was a funny kind of thing in a way, but it held up the process a bit, and it became really just a 4-track EP. I was hoping for another full-length album of his as well, and since it was kind of aimed to be a band, I thought like, well, then let's be a band. But Eddie can't give away control.
It was those were such quality tracks, Marco, that it wasn't like, these 4 T's of tracks. Like we were all on the edge of our seat. It was the first time our show that an EP was getting like the most requests than some of the big albums from that particular. So Garrett, I got to send that question out to you out in Blackwood, New Jersey. I know you knew we were going to have Marco here, and you wanted me to ask, so I didn't forget. I got to talk about another project. This is what I'm saying. Everything you've been involved with is like your Midas. I don't know who you are, but the Sea Within.
Yeah.
Again, another one. I mean, there was I think it was number 3 in the top 100 in 2018. I forget how many, 7 straight weeks it was number 1 on the weekly top 20. How much were you in this project in the sense of you wanted to do this, or did they come to you?
No, that was like a total band effort. Everybody brought in songs and everybody had their say. Mm-hmm. I don't even know whose idea it was to really bring it together. I think it must have been either way Jonas Reingold or Roine Stolt, who were kind of instigating or initiating the project.
Troublemakers.
Yeah, troublemaker. No, like initiating the album, going like, "Hey, why don't we do this?" And everybody brings in stuff. I was like, cool, sounds great. And we did, and we also recorded that one. We recorded together as a band in London. We lived at the same house, literally together, and rented a whole house. And then, we're going to the studio every day. That was good. That was really cool. And the vibes were great. The people in the band were fantastic to work with. Everybody was like really respectful to each other. We were also planning on at some point doing a follow-up on that one.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Thanks, for asking about that.
Yeah, Tom Brislin raved about you. Said, and I said to Tom, he's a fellow New Jersey guy like me, and I said, that guy, and we already know why. I mean, but how hard this guy. I mean, on top of being an incredible drummer, I laughed live on the air because of Marco and the fact that we had that connection for a billionth of a second because you knew exactly what was going on in my head at that moment. I said to Tom, he's a great guy. I said that, that you're an incredible player. But, this you also did a vinyl release of the Freeze live at Aristocrats album too, correct?
Yes, it's sold out now. Yeah.
Oh, it's sold out. That's another question. So, what is there any in the forecast to get those out on vinyl again, or is that right now as of now?
I think that's done. I mean, those things were released. I think there were only a few hundred copies, like 400 or 500 copies.
Not a lot. Yeah.
And those went, and we purposely made a limited edition. So, and then obviously it would be uncool to kind of just reprint it exactly the same way. If we would reprint something, then as a kind of anniversary band edition or something, as a picture vinyl disc or something like that. No, but those limited editions that were just released, they're gone now. They're sold.
Now,
I mean, there's still the CDs. They're still out there,
Sure. Yeah, and it's funny. Another listener, Frank, writes in. Frank Howard, who listens to us up in Parsippany, New Jersey. Another incredible project, the Mute Gods.
Yeah.
How much were you with this one?
That was so cool because Nick Bax is a dear friend of mine, and he is so cool to work with, And we did 3 albums together. And I gotta say, each of the albums was so much fun to work on. And we did this actually remotely, So Nick would send me stuff and I would offer drums and guitars here and there and other things and some keyboards here and there, even like some, total freehand to kind of be involved into these albums. And it was fantastic. These albums came out great. There was never really a moment of like, hey, maybe we should do this again or something. It was great. Everything was just came in so musically and organically rich, that I really enjoy these albums a lot. And great songs, good vibe, and yeah.
If you could throw the, put the bug in his ear that we'd love to have him on, man. I think he's one of the very few
Nick?
modern. We've never had Nick on the show. I think we were supposed to, and then like something fell through. But just let him know we love to have him on the show one of these days. But I think. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, and I heard he has a great sense of humor, so he'll fit in just great.
Yes, very much.
What is on the horizon for you now? Now you did a solo album, and I mean, without the obvious, what was the inspiration behind My Sister?
Oh yeah, My Sister.
I knew you were going to say that. That's a wrap.
You really want to hear the story?
Sure.
It was actually really funny because I was dating this girl by that time, and but she kind of gotten a little bit unreliable at some point, and it was like hard to kind of really connect. And she's a sweetheart. We're still in touch. We're all good, Mm-hmm. But I remember, and she has a sister, and I remember I was kind of a little bit bummed out because we were kind of planning on going out on a Wednesday somewhere, and then I think she forgot or canceled. It was like, hey, can we do like Friday or something? And I was like, okay, great. And then her sister wrote me. He was like, hey, I'm Crystal's sister. This is Summer and stuff. And so, do you want to hang? I was like, you know what? And so another one of those. And then, Crystal wrote and said like, hey, by the way, I actually have time on Wednesday. Shall we meet actually at 8:00? And I told her, I'm going out with Summer. and she wrote
What's
back.
wrong with you?
It was like the funniest thing. She goes like, all I received on the phone was like, Summer, and then in capital letters, my sister.
Oh man. I guess she'll be coming to you, or she'll have to walk down the street when you go pick her up.
I was like, it was instantly becoming the album title. The reason why it became the album title, we instantly sorted it also out. Like literally a few minutes later, we called and laughed about it. Go like, I just miss hanging. She goes like, and blah blah blah. And so we even hung all together then after that and just laughed about this. But so they know that the album is about that. It's a hidden message, but not now anymore. But it is that's really the humorous aspect about why the album is called My Sister.
Well, this is why I love you, dude, because you got a great sense of humor. But I mean, when it comes down to business, you also get down to business. What is on the horizon? I mean, of all the every great thing in the last 5 years that's come out has had your touch on there. What's next for Marco Minnemann?
Man, I mean, I'm doing a lot of productions, and I love doing that. Look, you see on my probably social media channels, there's always something that I play or record, and I love doing that. Other people go to work. I love playing. That's my work, but it's fun. I don't call it work. It's fun, isn't it?
Right.
That's really cool. So look, I'm on Mohini Day's new upcoming album. I'm on Fernando Molinari's new album, Fernando Molinari, and Jan Rivera. We did like a few things. So those things. Then I'm also doing another album with Randy together, Max Stein and Minnemann Part 3. We're discussing a new Aristocrats album. And I also have enough material for a new solo album. I think I could mention, and the new album from Mari Hamada, Japanese superstar.
Okay, really?
Oh yeah, I'm on her new album. It's the second album I'm on already,
Oh yeah,
so
that's right.
It's great. So yeah, these are the things that kind of come to mind right now. There must be something else, but which I forgot right now. But it's crazy. Because it's sometimes I can't keep track of that, but look, it's better being in demand and playing than.
Hey, you know what? It's not like you're just trying to like fill in the empty time. I mean, I've said it. The Mucods, the Sea Within, the Aristocrats, and if the Aristocrats is just your normal regular band that you do, I mean, I waited 15 years and I could have kicked myself at Nearfest Apocalypse, not asking you about Normalizer, because I thought at first, I'm like, there's no way that all these guys are doing this album, but I just got to give you props, man, for everything. And I want to tell everybody your website, by the way. It's Marco Minnemann, so it's MarcoMinnemann.com, or just go on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Gagliarchives. You're also on Twitter as well. And who is Mr. Kempinski?
That's a song from an album called Broken Orange. And the song title is because I wrote that song while being at in a hotel room called the Kempinski Hotel. So I called the song Mr. Kempinski because I was staying there. Now the thing is, I don't really use Twitter at all. I have the account, and I remember like Guthrie and I made both a Twitter account at the same time because Brian said like, "Hey, there's Twitter, blah blah blah. Let's all make accounts." And I don't know if he's really active on it. I know that Guthrie and myself, we don't do Twitter at all.
Well, it's cool. Brian will, and I love it when we'll get like a like or heart. I'm not asking for anybody to write a book back to me that I played your album on the radio show, but Brian has always been very cool with, giving us that nod. And I was hoping that we could have him on along with you because he's such a good guy. And I feel like I know him, although he's never been on the show, but he's corresponded with us. He's talked to us. But I do believe he does kind of surf around. And I know you don't at all.
Yeah. No, I don't. I don't surf around the web. I tell you what, what I do is I'm purely in, for the music of it, So no, you won't see me posting what Starbucks drink I had yesterday. But you see me kind of play maybe a cool drum solo or something, or which I think was cool or something, and then I post it, and that's what I do. I don't really nose around and kind of check everything out. I wanna write songs and have fun and have joy with music. But man, I tell you what, like social media has become like you gotta be meanwhile careful with everything.
Oh man,
because you know how it is. That people. They become like so focused on all these details. Once you post something, I remember I had like this thing a few days ago, which was to me actually really the funniest thing. I wasn't even paying attention to that.
You got to be careful.
I posted. No. I didn't say anything. It was just literally.
No, I know what you mean.
I had my camera from the angle behind something, and I wore like an old vintage Kiss T-shirt. Yeah. But that shirt, it was like a yellow shirt from the Destroyer tour.
Right.
And I didn't even pay attention. That shirt is like an old 2XL vintage shirt. It looks like a fucking circus tent, right?
Right.
So obviously I put that shirt on, didn't think any of that, and the shirt welds weirdly and whatnot, and of about like 250 comments, there were like 4 people going like, "Hey, you put in some COVID weight," right? And I was like, no, actually, I didn't even respond to that. And obviously the nice post, look, I'm actually not that big. So it's kind of, that people kind of, it's like, yeah, I had the wrong shirt on, whatever, look at the next post, and also, and even if, it's like, I'm not in here for modeling, I'm in for the music. But yeah, so people. So
are you sure?
Right? Are you sure? So now you have to kind of, even worry about that. You have to wear the right clothes that and all this kind of shit. It got like so, people got, oh my God. Sometimes, social media is really a weird animal, isn't it? And then everybody has an opinion. Everybody, if you play like a swing thing, then it's not rock enough. If you play like rock, then it's not swing enough. You can't please everyone. But
I got so tired of it, man. I got so tired of it where what was making me angry, because somebody had actually said to me not too long ago, they're like, your Facebook account, your regular Tom Gagliardi page, what do you have me blocked? I can't see any of your posts. I said, I stopped posting years ago because I was seeing so much hypocrisy. These people who are peace and love, they were the most vile, like, the things they were saying. I'm like, dude, I'm your friend. Like, suppose I did do what you think, like, what happens then? What are you going to do to me then? I was blown away by how, like you said, if, Jack had said to me not too long ago, he said, if you didn't have the radio show, would you have Facebook and social media?
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah, but I got to watch what I say. I don't bring up politics on the radio show. I don't care. Like, I try to, but on the other side of the coin, Marco, I tell them, listen, we don't care what source of who you're emailing us from, whatever your carrier is. We don't judge. If you like the music, I don't care what side of the political fence you're on, because if you guys all heard my political beliefs, you'd all run for the hills. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'd be invading Canada right now. No, but all seriousness, I understand what you mean. And having a radio program, especially like you being an artist, it's like I had to tell my wife that I don't post because I got to be careful if I'm just joking. That's why, like, on my Instagram, it's only my close friends, because I mean, it's not like I'm posting risque stuff or card carrying member of start riot here, but but it's just the world has gone crazy, and I'm glad that you at least are rational enough to see that. I mean, some of the stuff's like, who cares what? That's what made this country so great, is that you could have your own opinion, and I have one friend who's ultra left and one friend who's ultra right. Yeah. And I still love both of them, but they can't talk to each other.
That whole stuff is like a whole nother can of worms too. I mean, look, there's one thing, if people go like, oh, hey, you have a big shirt on, makes you look fat. No, I'm not bigger, and all my other shirts fit, as you can see. No, I'm still the same. Mm-hmm. But the other thing is, hang on, you are like too far right, you are too far left, you make a joke about mask mandates or all kinds of shit. That is like a thing that gets like violent and weird.
Oh yeah. Like, you can have your opinion. It's okay. Like, I remember my buddy said to me, he said 15 years ago, do you ever remember, because he's black, and he would say to me, I don't ever remember it being so polarized. I'm like, no. And then mix in the pandemic, everybody being stuck in their goddamn house. Yeah. Now, I've been stuck in my house for 10 years because that's just how, with my work, with the radio show. And there's people, Marco, they can't deal with that. They can't deal with being in these four walls, and they sit in front of the computer, and it's like that South Park where they're all getting fatter and fatter, like playing the games and this. It's the same. It's like, go outside, and you know what? Nobody cares what you think. I try to avoid a lot of that stuff, but I mean, I'm glad to hear that you feel the same way. But I'm glad that you're healthy, that you've been staying busy, and I noticed you got a little, what's going on here with all this?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you mean like my pandemic haircut.
Yeah, you're carrying COVID all over the place. No, I'm just kidding.
I know. I'm like, totally doing I don't know, what it was, because, I used to have really long hair actually a while back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I cut them off, and on and off it's like this and that, But right now I thought like, oh, whatever, I'm going to stay in here. I'm going to, enjoy the rock look.
Dude, if I go into your house right now without a mask and go over to your CD player or your MP3 player or your computer, what right now would I find you listening to?
Kraftwerk.
Get out of here. Which one?
All of them. I kind of just bought I have all the original first prints of the vinyls. I have also the remastered ones, also the color vinyls reissues. They're fantastic.
Wow.
I have all their box sets. I'm a huge Kraftwerk fan, and what I just re-listened to and love is Kraftwerk's 3D box set.
Wow.
And
okay, I know.
It's so good. If you have a surround sound system at home, and you have the Blu-ray of that, and you like what they do, of course, if you do, then that is a great experience. And I just found myself just after my sessions or something, with a nice glass of red wine and having some dinner, and then looking at that and going like, this is so cool. So recently you find Kraftwerk on my turntable.
Yeah, and especially being there in San Diego, it's the most beautiful place on the West Coast. I don't know if did you ever listen to Passport or any of that music back when back in the day? I mean, did you ever discover Klaus Dolding or any of those kind of artists?
Yeah, very much so. I didn't listen so much to that, but I was playing with the band members of Passport, like Wolfgang Schmidt was one of the guys who brought me pretty much into the scene, into the German jazz scene and everything. And we played for a long time together on tour, and probably maybe we'll do it in the future again if there's like a connection or something. And I know all of those guys from Passport,
and they're still rolling. They're still doing their thing.
Yeah, there you go.
Klaus is like 85 or something, isn't he?
Yeah, Klaus Doldinger, man. Yeah, he's up there. He's up there. Mm-hmm.
You Germans, man, and it's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite of the genre of progressive rock. I mean, if I put my Gagliarchives hat on, I love the what Germany has given to the genre. Schick, Furs and Frohling, Scope, bands like I think they were from Holland.
Yeah,
yeah. Like I just have a deep appreciation for German artists because you guys are so meticulous. It's great stuff. But listen, Marco, I want to give everybody your website. Like I said, it's marcominnemann.com. You're also on Facebook at marco.minnemann, and that's MINNEMANN. And you're also on Instagram as well, because now I'm going to add you as well.
I want to point out that on Facebook, it's actually, people, I have a private, a personal page, which I hardly ever use, and my official page, the artist page. That's the one, where I really post most of the things. I share them with my personal page, but the official page is the one to go to, I think. And Instagram, all that schnick-schnack, sure, of course.
and it's great stuff, man. Because like I said, you've always been, you're not phony. You've always been very real, and at times a bit too real. I want to, and by the way, folks, again, the Aristocrats, which we're going to play another track in a minute, by the way. And this one here, I like this one not just because of the title, but it's called D-Grade Fuck Movie Jam, and because we're not on FM radio anymore, we can say these words. Who came up with that idea? And then I want to talk one more thing about one more track. But what about this one? What?
That is a question you should ask Brian, because he is the one who wrote that song. But it was aimed at like a concert critic, which where was he? Raleigh in North Carolina.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and this one guy wrote like a review about. A preview. It was not even like a review. It was like a preview about upcoming shows. And he said like, what's actually happening in town and next week? Oh, these guys are playing. This is happening. There's a movie. There's this or whatever. And then he goes like, there's also the Aristocrats are playing. And he goes like, well, I don't know if I gotta go on Saturday, kind of to watch like their great fuck movie jams or something. It's like, no, thank you. This kind of stuff. I'd rather go to something else, right? And Guthrie and I think we were just laughing. We were just like, whatever, fuck you then, that's okay.
Yeah.
Then don't go to the show. But Brian, he took that too hard. he was like, he was totally dwelling on it. It's like, what, blah, 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 this and this. And he actually wrote a song about it and waited until we actually came to Raleigh and destroyed that guy. Like on stage, he announced exactly. He goes like, "I've been waiting for this moment for a long time," and I was like,
and then Brian exploded right there on stage. Oh,
he was even on tour. He was already in advance. He goes like, "Oh, I can't wait until we get to Raleigh."
He was working out before the concert that night.
He was totally like, I was like, Brian, fuck it. This is just if you would kind of pay attention to every little thing what people say. Oh my gosh,
I can't imagine him getting. But I have this weird feeling that he's kind of. He would be defending of what the craft that he does because he's an incredible player. You know what I mean? I'd be pissed off. There's critics that you would think that they would like the fact that we try to give a cross section every Saturday night for the last 30 years of if I'm not playing say Marco Minnemann or I'm playing Scope or some obscure Spanish album, that they would be happy that wow man he's given us this whole thing. And then I start getting these emails, and I was telling one of the record label vendors, and they were laughing. They're like, "Dude, you should see the emails I get, and I'm a vendor, and if it bothers you that much, then do your own show. I mean, but
you gotta grow thick skin. Gotta grow a thick skin of certain things.
I think it comes with the territory, especially with this genre. This track that we're going to close out with, first I want to give everybody the, and again, I got to thank you for taking the time, Marco. It's been long overdue.
Anytime. Thank you.
It's the-aristocrats-band.com. That's the official website. Again, folks, it's the-aristocrats band.com. You can see it right there on the bottom of your screen, and also on Facebook as well. If you're one of those Facebook junkies, Aristocrats Band, all one word. If you're criticizing everyone's every move, there you go. Also on Twitter that they don't use at ACRATS Band, and also on Instagram as well, Instagram.com/the Aristocrats Band, all one word. Is there anything that you want to tell our audience, maybe to some of the young drummers out there that are, because we've grown with a very young audience that have been inspired by players like yourself. So.
Good. Yeah. I always kind of would say the same thing there. First of all, play with ultimate passion, believe in what you do, and don't let yourself kind of put down by the outside world, because as we know, what we just talked about, social media can be brutal, especially for young bands. Don't let it get to you so much. If as long as you have like your followers and friends, who believe in what you do and you believe in yourself, then you'll be a success, or you are a success with that already. So kind of keep doing what you do, but do it right. Do it like this is kind of a thing. Like don't half-ass things. Go in all the way and try to deliver it at the most beautiful as you hear it inside of your head. And I think that will be the key to musical happiness and fulfillment. That's what I kind of think.
And I agree with you, because I've said to people before, if I cared about what everybody or what anybody said about the radio show, this would have stopped 29 years ago. But you got to believe in what you're doing, and I love that you're multifaceted. I mean, you've got these one side of the spectrum, you got the sea within, then you have the more, maybe a little bit more accessible with the mute gods, and then this incredible work you did with just you're being the drummer obviously for Steven Wilson. Those everything you've been involved with. God bless you, Marco. I'm very proud of you. It's great to see 15 years later you're still doing this great, and now you're doing the stuff with Randy McStein as well, and I got to give you big props, man.
Very proud of that. Those are good albums, I think. Really.
I wish I could have saw you at Prague stuff, but I mean, hopefully, maybe you'll come to Philly with some kind of something.
That'd be good. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure we will. Probably next year with the Aristocrats.
Yeah, I get it. But I'm going to close out one last thing here, Marco, before we let you go. Obviously, the man, the myth, the legend, sadly left us a little over a year ago, and it's hard to believe. I don't know. I knew he was unwell, but I didn't know it was that bad. And when I heard about the sad passing of Neil Peart, and if you can't see it, but in our other office we have this cloth banner that I don't know is about 35 years old of Neil playing his Tama drums. This track here, you feel kind of close to this one, and I want to say it is the epic on the album, and it's called Get It Like That, and it's a tribute to Neil. Tell me a little bit about the background on this. We're about to play it.
Well, Get It Like That is one of the songs that I wrote for the Aristocrats, and and it kind of morphed into a tribute, because it was exactly while we were touring, on the You Know What tour, that Neil passed. And me being friends with Alex Lifeson from Rush, and having done, he's on my records, and we also did like an EP together, like a single together. Mm-hmm. So we became close and talked about everything. And I was also fortunate enough to having known Neil. I had a great hang with Neil, and so it kind of obviously was more than appropriate and right to do a tribute. I really felt like doing that, and I know Alex Lifeson, he was really moved by that, and and I just played every night my heart out for Neil, and it was like, in that song Get It Like That, where I thought, like, because the song has like a pace and takes you on a journey and has like a lot of dynamics, and finesse as well, but also like, something that sounds very easy and groovy and stuff, so and I thought, like, this might be the perfect moment to kind of come down and kind of go into the solo, and then kind of build into a Neil tribute, which is more obviously than deserved, because he was such an influence, and not only as a drummer, but what a lyricist.
That's the thing. A lot of people that I have to tell, they're like, he did the lyrics, the drummer,
and deep lyrics.
Good. Very, very, very intellectual, very existential, and some of them have brought me to tears at times. And
which one?
Well, let's see. There was Time Stand Still. As much as it got radio airplay, there's some beautiful, about realizing. It reminds me of what I just went through with my nieces. That I remember I was telling them fantastic lies on the boardwalk that, amazing. That the bridge to England, they never finished it over here. It's a fishing pier. And I said, they ran out of money, so they couldn't go to England to finish the bridge. And now they're in college. And, and I'm still relevant, which is, thank God, I'm still cool to them. But it's all of a sudden a song like Time Stands Still, and that's the first one that came to mind, where you're like, wow.
Oh. There are deep songs like Losing It.
Yeah.
And also The Pass, which is about suicide, stuff like that. That's deep stuff what he writes there.
And he went through a lot of stuff, dude. His wife, his daughter. God damn.
Unreal.
It really is, man. It is. And this is this song again. I it's never goodbye, because we want to have you. We should have you on once a month.
I would love to. We should kind of do like a playlist and share what we.
I'm thinking about expanding now that we're independent. We do everything from here, but we're kind of doing some rebuilding behind the scenes here. But dude, I got to tell you again that this was great. I was looking forward to this, and a big thanks to Ryan for getting this together as well. So patient with everything that was going on here on this side of the pond here. But dude, we love you, Marco. I'm going to play this track here again. It's the new live album, folks. Spent at least 9 weeks in our weekly top 20. It's going to be in the top 100 at the end of this year. It's the Aristocrats Freeze live in Europe 2020, and this is a track here titled "Get It Like That," dedicated to the late great Neil Peart. Marco Minnemann, we love you, dude.
Thank you so much, guys. And for having me on the show. Always great to talk to you. So let's kind of keep that up and going.
Thank you. This is the great Aristocrats.